86 years and over 15 million acres later, Ducks Unlimited, along with our volunteers and supporters, continue to lead the way for the future of waterfowling. Whether it's attending a local event or joining our volunteer team, you too can play a role in the next 15 million acres. Visit www.ducks.org and find out how you can leave your mark for generations to come. Ducks Unlimited, the world leader in wetlands and waterfowl conservation.
Bottomland is Mossy Oak's original camo pattern created by Toxie Hayes over 3 decades ago. This pattern preserves the original design while applying advanced technology for increased effectiveness. The same field-proven components and colors, the same dirt and bark elements, the same ability to blend into dark environments and obscure a hunter's outline from every angle. Mossy Oak Bottomland.
Get up. Welcome, folks. Y'all come on in and make yourself at home. This here, well, this is the Rolling Thunder Podcast, your home for all things Rolling Thunder. This episode is brought to you by Mossy Oak, because everything is better in Bottomland. Kent Cartridge, quality matters, performance counts. Shen Gear, waterfowl gear that is built better. Benelli USA, dominate the skies. And Ducks Unlimited, the world's leader in wetlands and waterfowl conservation.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Rolling Thunder Podcast.
What's up? What's up? Still in Canada. We are still here.
Still here. Loving it.
How long do you have to stay here to get a permanent residence in Canada? I feel like we're close.
We're far from it.
I think anything over 2 weeks, you got to have a work permit.
But it is 2 weeks, you got to have a work permit, I do believe.
We're definitely cutting it close to that.
We're here vacationing. We're here to see ducks die.
Leisurely.
We've done that.
We've
done that very, 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 very well. I'm going to say...
How well did we do it?
Very, no, I'm not going to do it again. I will say, when we first got here, so we came to a new area this year. We didn't go to last year. Drake was unfamiliar with it. Spence was unfamiliar with it. I was a little nervous. I knew there was water up here, but just not knowing landowners, farmers, just not knowing where you're at.
It's a clean plate.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about it, and especially after that first day scout, man, I was like, "There's some geese here, but where's the ducks?"
You know what grows off of a clean plate? The mountain of happiness.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to the mountain of happiness.
We probably just do it hunt by hunt, but Gert's still on that mountain of happiness, I believe.
That's what I was just about to say. Drake and I hit it right on the money. We got here at 9:40 on Thursday night.
And we left at Wednesday
at 2. Central time. We made it here at 9:40 Mountain Time.
That's getting it.
Yeah, that was a long drive. God.
I think it was 32 and a half, total.
Yeah.
Travel time.
And we made it straight through.
Yeah,
we didn't stop. Took the night shift because he's been in Nashville, so we had to give him the hard one.
Yeah. It's my punishment.
I tell you what, that last 7 hours, everybody's asleep, and I was driving, and I'm about an hour and a half out, and Frawley kind of starts waking up, and there was a vehicle I swore was on the back of the trailer, like they're about to hit the trailer. And I just looked at Frawley, I said, "Is it just me, or is that truck about to hit us?" He flips around. You talking about the one 10 miles behind us? I was like, oh boy.
It was flat, and I looked in the side view. I was like, dog, that truck's crossing the border, man. We got a long ways to go.
I had to get out and get some fresh air to get flowing again.
I don't know if it was the kind of driving or just the fact that we crossed the border and we were almost here, but from the border to here felt like we were driving on a treadmill.
Yeah.
It felt like we were making no progress.
Yes.
When we got to the border, I was like,
border.
I was like, man, oh man.
Yeah. That 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. drive shift felt shorter than it took to get from the border to here.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, it was rough. But, Man, we had a pretty good trip. Girk's got something to say.
Yeah, this was the captain's log.
Oh, William Frawley.
Oh, the
He's got a
captain's
captain's
log.
log. Captain's log, 10/05/2023, 4:27 a.m. At this point in the graveyard shift, I have convinced Minnesota is the biggest damn state in the U.S. It feels like we may never make it out of here. Furthermore, I'm quite jealous of my passengers. Drake and Trip have been in a peaceful slumber since yesterday. The only stirring that has been witnessed is Drake briefly waking just long enough to ask what time it was. Sorry, I can't read. Where the hell? Trip hasn't moved since he laid in the floorboard. Fingers crossed he's still alive. Levi fought to sleep as long as he could, but the only contact that has been made since about 2:30 is intermittent. Jeez, wow. Snoring. 100 miles to Fargo, 2 hours till daylight. Squints out.
I had to make my own entertainment since y'all were asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I laid down on that floorboard, I literally told Squints, I said, if you wreck this truck, I'm dead.
You are
so,
dead.
Both
so
did.
don't.
Yeah.
Laid in the floorboard.
yeah.
Drake was laid across the back seat. Trip
Contact.
was in the floorboard.
It's not as comfortable as it is in the Ford, I will say.
Drake at
Fords
one
have way more room.
Drake at one point he's like, "Hey, we're gonna try this whole you on the floorboard and me up on top of the seats." And Trip wasn't really answering back to. And at the given point when it was going down, Drake was like, "Get down there." And Trip didn't have a decision
All
to
right,
make.
boy, come on, get down there.
Prison conversation. Get out there.
Yeah, and they slept from the southern border of Iowa to South or North Dakota.
Did my job.
I was in and out, left and right.
Levi tried his damnedest to stay up, but he couldn't hold it anymore.
No, I couldn't. I did drive from from the edge of North Dakota
To the border.
to the border. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he started to get a little
to about
freaked
a mile
out.
out from the border.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They
you
had to
getting
change
the
it.
twitches.
Levi got real quiet. They're like,
Yeah.
Levi, you nervous? A little bit. It's like, you want me to take over just to get us through? He says, I'd really appreciate that.
Oh, he was freaking out.
I was like, first time for everything, and I just really don't want the first time me going through the border. And Drake's been through it, and Trip's been through it. I was like, one of you guys got to be driving. You have to. You have to.
The anxiety at the border is nothing. This is really weird.
Is it
I can't even see you over there.
On the blind side.
on the blind side? Yeah, the border was very easy. I mean, now going through it the second time, it's going to be like, okay, well, I got everything in order that I have. They
Yeah.
can't really get me. So,
Yep.
well, we stopped at the U.S. border first and tried to talk to some fake microphone, and then we went to the Canada border, actually. We're like,
There was no sign.
We stopped at the U.S. side and we sat there for 5 minutes. Like, I don't think this is where we're supposed to
I
be.
finally looked up a half mile ahead, and I was like, I think that's our location we need to be at, boys.
Contact.
Of course, the U.S. side is this giant, immaculate building, and then we see the Canada building around the corner, and it's basically just a shed with a little carport on the side of it.
We get out of there, and we had ourselves a 6-hour drive from there to our destination.
Well, before we did that, we had a horrible A&W sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, Drake, I'm sorry on that one, but A&W did strike back as good later on.
It did.
The breakfast was awesome.
Yeah,
The
I
hamburgers
was-
are horrible.
They really are.
It just depends, man.
Well,
And
It
there's no
does.
ice.
Have you had an A&W in the States?
Yes.
Okay.
Where
would
do
you
they
say
have them in
A&W
the
is-
States?
There's one in Lakeland, Florida. I remember it like when I was young playing ball down there because I had a root beer float.
Well, anyways, we got out of the crappy A&W is what Tripp says. And I agree. I agree with that.
That was a
100%.
less than stellar experience. The first one we did not get off on the right foot on the first one. The biggest thing that weirded me out is the drinks didn't have any ice. The
Told you.
drink machine didn't have any ice.
Told you.
I like look behind it. I'm like, where?
But
they
them
don't have
Cokes
any
are crispy.
ice. They are.
Them Cokes are real crispy.
How can you sell ice cream, floats, and smoothies, but you don't have ice? I do not understand.
Yeah,
don't either.
that is a little weird.
I don't either.
It's all the hard water. I don't have much fresh water up here.
Well, then we got here to the old Rick's place. And thankful Rick.
Yeah,
We got
Slick
back
Rick.
here, and he had some, what was it called, ready for us?
Pot roast.
Man, it
Pot
was
roast
good.
and potatoes. Waiting
I hold
on
it
us.
out. I held my hunger for that. Y'all stopped at Old Subway.
I ate a Subway sandwich and pot roast.
Yeah.
When did y'all have Subway?
at that gas station, the first one in Canada. I didn't
Oh, it
realize.
was horrible too.
I didn't realize they had to. They wanted to pump the gas, and he's like, "Well, you can't pay out here." So I go inside to pay, and he's like, they get kind of frustrated with me. They're like, "Why are you trying to pay in here? You haven't pumped any gas." I said, "This dude just told me I can't pay out there." And he comes in there. He goes, "Do you want gas or not?" I was like, "Yeah, I want gas, bro." Like, he says, "Well, how much?" I said,
Until it stops.
"Yeah, fill it all the way up." What do you mean?
Yeah,
so
the
I had to figure out the Canadian
way. Of
way.
things.
They
We
fill
serve,
it up,
not you serve.
and then you go inside.
Yeah, we're going to get back to the U.S. and we're going to be standing there at the pump like, where's the guy that's pumping my gas? He's not where.
And cleaning my
He's still
windshield.
inside or?
Oh my gosh.
Well, we had a good dinner from old Rick and went to sleep. Got up the next morning and
Saw a moose.
didn't see much foul.
We did see a moose first thing coming across the prairie at daylight.
Moose, but no foul.
Welcome to Canada.
Lots of geese.
A lot of geese, a
A
few
lot
ducks,
of geese.
but yeah, there's a lot of geese.
It was really hard for me to not look at the geese and say, "Hey, let's get permission on that."
We
over
thought
there.
we thought we saw a wolf. Ended up being a house dog.
That is
Yeah.
true. I was on full missions that it was a wolf.
We were convinced.
Yeah,
Look at the hair; it's just dragging down.
he said, "Young ones don't have hair like that."
There's
Yeah, young pups don't have hair like that.
there's a canine on the top of a hillside in the middle of a road, and Gert
Right
throws
next,
his
to,
binoculars
right next to a
up.
bunch of ducks and geese that were
Kinda,
feeding.
and he's kind of staring at the ducks and geese, and Gert's like, "Oh man, that's a mature one there. Look at the way his hair just drags and just shines in the sun. Oh my
At one point in
gosh.
time, I did say, I was like, he's getting ready to prowl on them ducks and geese. You see that? He's moving left to right.
We get up there and he's got a collar around his neck.
Yeah, we're like, oh, yep,
That's Fido.
Let's
that's
move
Lynn's
along.
dog. There's a homestead literally right across the road.
Did we end up finding anything huntable that first morning for ducks? I don't think so.
No, we didn't.
No, we found that little feed where the ducks were mixed in with the snows, and then I think we just, where did we go, southeast from there, made a big giant loop, and
Found a lot of geese.
Found Cortland that we thought we were going to hunt later in the week, and then
yeah,
Yeah.
never really grew into anything.
Yep. First hunt that Saturday morning? Yeah. It was Saturday morning. Forgot the spinners at the house.
So I'm trying to remember. Did we end up finding that first feed that afternoon then?
Yes,
and hunting
that
it the next
evening.
morning. So I went and got
Because
okay.
Spence Rich and yeah.
Gotcha. So I went and got permission from that. So we did find ducks that day. Just it was later
It
on.
was later on.
Man, I thought that place was going to be. I thought we were going to be there the whole week when we found those ducks. There was a big lake and it was real hilly, and it was at the very bottom of this hill. Just a huge lake holding a lot of mallards, not very many geese, and they just roll out and feed in that field every day. And I just knew that they were going to get somewhere else and it was going to be good, but turned out to be just an old traffic stop there, boys.
They just didn't want to leave anywhere near that water. I mean, they just jumped, 100,
just stayed
300
on the
yards
water.
over to the next wheat field and the next wheat field.
And to shoot 30 ducks with no spinners that close to water, I think, we throw spinners in there, we shoot our limit.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree on that.
I mean, at one point they were getting down in the same field, like 100 yards behind us.
They were.
It's like, golly, we're missing one thing.
Yep.
Dang mojos. Well, as Spence put it, we didn't forget the mojos ever
Anymore.
since.
Nope. That was our one.
That was our one.
That was our one.
it's okay to say that I had a meltdown.
Spencer did have a high-speed come apart about the spinners.
And then the next subject
Because
was
somebody took them out of the truck. I mean, they had to be removed from the rig.
Fully justified. The meltdown was fully justified, and we deserved it.
But when things really got hot was, Corey and Ian coming to town that afternoon. Spence, Rich, and Squints come home and acting like they just won the Super Bowl.
It's because we did.
We have this giant feed.
Y'all are forgetting. Saturday afternoon, we didn't find anything.
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
We had 2 or 3 very, very poor options. And we went Sunday morning, we hunted the same spot we hunted on Saturday. We hunted the same field 2 days in a row.
Yeah, we did hunt the
Yeah.
same field
Me and Drake
twice.
scouted
That's right.
That's right. And that was a decent hunt. I think we shot 50 something birds with
Yeah,
a
we
couple
shot
geese in there.
51.
Yeah, so Saturday we actually ended up hunting the exact same field that we hunted the day before.
Sunday.
Okay, you're right. Okay, so Sunday we actually ended up hunting the exact same field that we hunted Saturday, but we did bring the spinners, and what we ended up doing was we pushed back about 500 yards where these ducks had been transitioning from water to water, trying to run traffic on them pretty much. There was some feeding in there where this spot was at, but it was primarily traffic. Well, ends up being we had permission on it from a younger guy, and his grandfather had given permission. His grandfather ended up giving permission to another group of guys, and so we got there that afternoon to watch them. And those guys are like walking around in the field, and they come back to the trucks and are like, "What are y'all doing?" And they're like,
Well, and a lot of the ducks had flown the other direction.
"Correct,
That Saturday morning while we hunted there, a lot of the ducks had gone north.
right,
So we got permission on that,
that's right."
and then found out they were going to be on the other side of the water, and it didn't make sense for us to all be
Running
1,000 yards
some-
apart.
Exactly. Yeah. So we ended up, just coming to agreement and hunting together. And it was a good hunt. It's hard to hunt that close to water. It really is. You hope they just roll out in separate groups and you don't scare them off. But the fact is, when you pull up a big truck into a field like that and point them lights right towards the water, it
not
can
good.
But also,
get bad.
don't forget, Saturday night scout was incredibly frustrating. You found 2 whoppers, Drake
Yep.
did, and we found a couple things, but we got told no on all of it.
Yeah.
I mean, outfitters, it was like there were people on every corner.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I cannot remember hunting the same field 2 days in a row ever
Yeah.
up here.
And that was what was so frustrating, was because it's like, well, there's a trailer of decoys. There's a trailer of decoys. Oh, somebody else has permission here. It's like, how many people are up here right now?
At one point, there was us and 2 or 3 others looking at the same birds
field.
same body of water, waiting on them to get off.
Correct.
And that weekend there were 4 different houses around us that were rented, and there were at least 8 rigs at the hotel.
Yeah.
And there's a second hotel. I don't know how many were down there, but I mean, within hollering distance of the house we're staying in, there were 12 different groups of hunters. That's
Including
busy.
right
I
across
can't
the
lie.
street.
I did enjoy cleaning the ducks right out in front of the driveway. So everybody comes on by, they see what's been going on.
They
know we're
was
busy.
Saturday afternoon the first run in with Wild Willie? Is that what it was? Yeah. Yeah, that's when we found that big feed south of here.
With some other hunters.
Yeah. We there was some confrontation.
Yeah, so this
on
one
Saturday.
guy,
We'll get back to that in a minute.
yeah, but pretty much this guy thought that he owned everything. He's a guy from the States. He's up here doing the same thing we're doing, freelance, and he's just trying
in
to
this same area for a very long time.
sure, and he's just trying to bully it around and run folks off.
And he's by himself. And he did run some people off. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. But so
Make sure we don't break down the hunts. Break down the scout the afternoon before.
yeah,
Try to remember. So Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, so jump into
Did y'all found some stuff Sunday afternoon, didn't you?
What do we hunt Monday?
That was the barn
No.
burner.
That
barn
was y'all.
burner.
Sunday afternoon was when we saw those ducks and we lost them.
Yep.
Boy, yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
So Spence, Rich, and I went back to the same area where we had a run in. Oh, no. We didn't go quite that far. We didn't make it that far. We had found a feed that was would have been a really solid hunt, but the birds were acting weird. Like they couldn't sit still. They were bouncing all around the field. It was mostly the geese that were moving around. The ducks were staying put, but I would have been more than happy with that. And then we were going up to the first group of ducks that we had found on Friday afternoon, where Spence had gotten permission up there, which he had watched that morning and had got them pinned down and was pretty confident about that one too. Well, when we were on the way there, we had to drive through town to get back up there. I look out the passenger window and there's a group of about 100 ducks flying. I just pointed them out like, hey, look, ducks. And then I look back behind them and there's a group of about 200 behind them, and back behind them there's a group of about 500. So we pulled off on the side of the road and we're watching them. We kind of figured out where they were flying. We flipped a U, turned around, got up on this hilltop, stood on the back of the truck, and all three of us are looking down at, what would you say, 10 to 15,000, I'd say, somewhere in there. A lot of ducks and not a lot of geese. And went into full panic mode trying to get in touch with the landowner. Could not find his house, but
Spence kept his cool.
Yeah.
Laser beam.
Yeah. Rich was losing his mind. But through a couple contacts that we had already made between Rick and another farmer just south of there, we ended up getting the landowner's phone number. We called him. He said he hadn't given permission to anybody, but he leased that field to a farmer. And we tried to get in touch with the farmer, and we couldn't, just to make sure that we were the only ones hunting it. But the landowner gave us solid permission to go in there and hunt it on Monday. And so that's when we went up and checked the feed that we were going to initially, and there were birds there, but nothing like we had just left. And that's when we rolled into the house with a little bit of pimp limp going on.
Oh yeah, y'all were full blown confident we're about to smack them in the morning.
Yeah, we were riding a little low because we found an unbelievable feed, but couldn't get permission because an outfitter had it locked down.
Yeah.
Right.
And last minute Sunday afternoon, during that, we saw, it was way off in the distance. Me and Drake just looked out the window and saw a giant wad of ducks, and we're trying to get over to them to figure out, because, man, this area is super, super hilly. So when they get under those ridges and start feeding, if there's no more birds coming to the feed, you're not finding them.
Yeah, you ain't going to see them.
It's hard.
We're moving. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So we're driving around like chickens with their heads cut off, just searching for where these ducks went. It knew that it was going to be really good, and that afternoon we never found them, and we rode home. Me and Drake were grouchy.
We didn't hardly say anything on the way home. Tails were tucked, bad moods, but got back, found out we had a pretty good one lined up. Did the dang thing, and it was nice.
The only scares that before going to bed that night, Spence said, we do have permission from the landowner. However, somebody may have permission from the farmer. So he's like,
There's so many.
Yeah, there's so many.
No way we were going through the salt.
Yeah,
right.
There's absolutely, and it
these
was
birds,
literally right off of the highway.
These birds are right outside of town on the highway.
Yep.
So we knew that we weren't the only folks that knew about these birds, and we hoped that we were the only ones with permission. But just be sure and be cautious.
We sent the whole runner in.
Sent the whole runner in. 4:00. Me and Girk rolled out of here. We
Girk's go.
We got there. Me and Girk got there super early. We started cutting brush, raking brush, and finally it was like, well, we got enough brush. Ain't nobody here. And Spence and them had just left the house, so I was hopeful for that y'all would start rolling in,
And thankfully it was only 10, 15 minutes at a time.
It wasn't far. So me and Girk are just sitting inside the little caravan here, getting warm and toasty because it was super windy that day. Mm-hmm. And about that time, I see some headlights and a trailer rolling in, and I called Spence. I said, is this you pulling in the field? Because the guy was not pulling into the same spot that I intended for Spence to pull in. And he says, no, it's not. And so me and him hung out the phone real fast, and I floored that SUV as fast as I could across that field. I was running like a dune buggy, jumping over hills. And as soon as I pull up this trailer, I just jump out. Well, before I jump out, Girk says, "You gonna handle this?"
I don't like confrontation.
I said, "Yeah, I got it." And so I jump out, and I tried to play really nice to these guys at first. I was like, hey, I'm Trip, and they're like, well, what are you doing here? And I said, man, we're going to hunt. I said, we're actually going to hunt right here where your truck's parked. And they're like, no, you're not. We have permission. We're hunting here. I said, we have permission, so we're hunting here. And we just went back and forth. And finally I said, man, I understand that you probably have permission. I said, but we have permission from the landowner. I said, can you show me any evidence that you have permission? And he just read a text message out loud. So I still was kind of unsure if he actually did it or not. But
he said the text message that he had gotten was from the landowner.
Originally, he told me the landowner,
right?
And that's what blew red flags. But he made a mistake. He meant to say the farmer, and ended up he did have permission from the farmer. So Spence got there, and we just talked it out and said, man, let's let's just all hunt together. And so I think we had 17 guns that morning. We set up on A-frames. Unbelievable.
Half a mile worth of A-frames.
Yeah. Unbelievable wind. And just like Friley and Spence and Rich put it up to be, they started coming. Big wads too, wasn't it?
Oh, gosh.
Big wads at a time.
Shot 17 limits in just over an hour.
Yeah.
It was the best I can judge.
And one goose.
Yeah, the best I can judge from the Cran Cam videos, we did it in all about 9 to 10 different groups.
Yeah.
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 It's unbelievable. The coolest part about that is, we'd shoot into a group and the dogs would be picking them up, and those dogs were incredible. But I would just keep looking over to the right, and these birds were coming straight from the sun. So, like, you'd have to get your eyes, you'd look into the sun and kind of like get blinded for a second, and all of a sudden you just see these little feathers, little wings coming, and then before you knew it, you could see them from a long ways away, and before you know it, there'd be another 200, 250 mallards coming in, and it was like, oh,
yeah, one pass and smash.
Get them dogs in, boys.
Coming straight from where they were the day before. And Rich kept saying it. The first couple groups we shot into that weren't more than like 10 or 20 were coming from out in front of us. And both times those groups came in and we shot them, Rich just kept saying, those aren't our ducks. Those are not our ducks. Our ducks are over there. They're not. These are not our ducks. Those are our ducks.
Old Rich.
Within Spence just about busted it. But I mean, Rich was right. Once our birds started showing up, it got pretty stupid. That was 200 at a time.
That was an unbelievable morning, and I mean, that's what you come to Canada for.
That is definitely what you come to Canada for.
Obviously, you want to shoot big numbers, and you can do that and shooting in groups of 10 to 15. We did it last year. But when you're talking about you're working, it starts out a group of 200 dogs, and then it just starts growing and growing and growing. Before you know it, they're tornadoing on you, and then finishing right. I mean, these
ducks were in tight.
Yeah.
It's incredible. How many ducks were you think were in that giant group of mostly pintails that we didn't shoot into?
I don't know. I'd probably say 500 to 600 ducks in that one group.
Yeah.
It was,
man.
And we made the right call by not shooting into that group, because we only had to shoot a handful of ducks left. So we were like, let's not shoot into these. And we were doing a good job at the ones we were shooting. We wanted to really square them up right and be able to pick your shot,
I mean, hell, almost all of them were, all of our ducks, at least, Rich, were coming over our right shoulder, and they would hit that right edge and just one turn into the decoys. They didn't need much convincing.
No.
Yeah.
That southeast wind was
on the X.
Our blessing this entire week.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun hunt. Kari and Ian had been in, and of course that was the day Boozer was traveling, and I hate to be anybody that was around Michael Boozer that day, because I know that he was just freaking out the entire time. He was.
And luckily, when they got in, we went to go scout. We're like, we know where we're going.
Yeah. So that afternoon, I hung back because I was playing my role of Chef Hodges that night. So I went scouting with Spence and Squints, and we found some stuff. But I knew that where you were going, Drake, you and Girk were going, that if y'all could get back on those ducks that we lost the afternoon before, it was going to be pretty good.
Oh, we found them.
Yeah, we found them.
And we didn't lose them.
We thought it was we thought it was going to be a three-peat of a dugout.
Yeah.
But it didn't turn out to be that way.
No.
Well, tell it too, because these ducks, where we ended up getting permission, wasn't the field the ducks were actually
Exactly.
feeding.
We kind of had to pull a little rabbit out of our hat.
Yeah. So this outfitter had permission on this pea field, and we finally talked to enough farmers and landowners, and they gave us permission basically on every field around this pea field. We're like, all right, where are they feeding close to it at? And they were feeding right up next to this wheat field on the north side of it. And sure enough, me and Girk, after we get permission, we drive out there in that field and get about 300 yards from them and up on top of a hillside. And we're looking, and I'm thinking, and we're looking. And I'm like, the only thing we're going to be able to do is just put our backs up against this pea field and try to convince them, And
a southeast wind again the next day,
which was right at our back.
That was the game changer. That saved us.
Because stiff southeast wind.
Imagine any other wind. We
couldn't have hunted it.
We couldn't have hunted it
because these ducks had to actually set up on the wheat field to land in the pea field.
Yeah.
So we were set up perfectly. It was just a matter of if they're going to get down in this wheat or they're just gonna kind of go over us and then go down the land.
Also, just talking about how much the ducks like peas.
Yeah.
I think we hunted the pea field.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we're shooting them in a different crop.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
a totally different crop than what they wanted to be in.
Yeah.
You know, and sure enough, I called my buddy TJ. I picked his brain about it after I talked to Spence because I was a little weary. And Joe, get over here. And you know, at the end of the day, you got to think. You know, you're in Canada, so it's not going to be that hard,
Right.
obviously. But they're still wild ducks, and I was a little skeptical after I talked to Spence. So I called TJ and picked his brain about it. And he's like, "Man, you're in Canada. You got spinners. If you're close enough, you're going to be able to get them."
Well,
Right.
what I was most nervous about at that time, because there were still so many people around, and the last 2 days we ended up hunting with different groups of guys we didn't even know.
And we thought it was going to happen again.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was just, all I could think about that night was, man, somebody's going to set up in that pea field, and they're going to get them because they're going to be where they want to be.
Right.
But luckily,
Bad for them though. If they were to do that, we were downwind.
yeah. But luckily, nobody was there, so there was
Yeah.
no.
Well, we got word that outfitter did drive by and thought that we were in the peas. We weren't in the peas, and they're all butt hurt. But sorry, not sorry. Y'all can kick rocks. We got them. Y'all didn't. Suck it.
And that hunt was the day before was a super fast hunt, but that hunt was extremely fast. And I remember sitting by a boozer, and I was like, "Man, this is the worst part." And he says, "What's that?" I said, "Sometimes it just goes by too fast."
It really does. I mean, we were 2.5 limits short, and we finished one pretty big group, got all the ducks up, counted again, and we were 2 short.
Yeah. No, we were 3. We had 3 more to go, and
I found one more in my blind, so like, all right, we got 2 more to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why Gert
Right,
ended up
yeah,
shooting
twice.
those 2.
Yeah.
So
we were 20 ducks away from our limit
Yeah.
and shot into one group, and then all of a sudden we were 3 ducks away from our limit.
I would
We
say I'd
shot
be,
the lights out of that one.
I would say I'd be upset because I don't get to shoot my 8, but at the same time, if I had to shoot my 8, we'd be out there for another hour.
well, Gert, you're really good at running that camera. And so anyways, we all unload our weapons and let Gert set up, and Spence said, "Gert, we're gonna get them in here. You shoot when you want to shoot. Call your own shot." And we start working these ducks, and they're getting down in there. I mean, I would have called the shot 3 times.
I was like, "What are we doing?"
And
here?
finally,
Over there, he's like, "Are we hunting? Are you hunting, Levi? Are you watching?"
and so finally I make another pass, and I think it wasn't near as good of a setup as the initial 3 passes before that.
But still well within range.
Oh, it was
well
well
within.
Yeah. And Gert goes to firing his weapon. He, bow, gosh, bow. What the heck? Bow. Oh my gosh.
I mean, when you got 9 people or 10 people, whatever it was watching it, I mean, the nerves are
You're
on.
nervous. There's no doubt
Oh,
you're nervous.
man.
But then another few groups come in. You knock down a greenhead, and then the group after that, you finished it out.
Yeah.
Finished up.
He
for
was
the
just
day.
waiting on a shot he liked.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey,
One
he's
of the
one-
greenhead.
He's
Yeah.
want to
Did
shoot
end on a
greenheads.
greenhead.
Yeah.
Can you blame him? No. I mean, we're here to shoot greenheads,
Oh,
Gert.
young Pintail,
Little tenderoni pintails.
tenderoni.
Dude, them pintails do taste good, though.
You do wrap them in bacon and cream cheese, and you got yourself a good plate.
How about that, too? Just, man, take a break from the hunts. We had some really, really good food.
And it was a lot around
Once we started cooking
Yeah.
at the house, we did.
Yeah. When we got away from, the restaurants, try to support the folks, but
We tried.
They offer a little bit different food than we're used to.
Yeah.
We tried to support them, but they did not support us.
No, rock gut every single time.
Let's talk about that. When we got done with the hunt, we went to a town and we went into a restaurant. Everybody was ordering food, and
There was a breakfast ordered at our table. There's breakfast ordered.
Was that after that hunt, or was that after Ian's hunt?
I was after Ian's hunt.
Oh, was it?
okay.
sorry,
Okay.
mixture.
Yeah, we went to A&W. Both the first two barn burners we had, we went to the A&W
For lunch.
and got
Right.
breakfast.
Well, breakfast, lunch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it was not lunchtime yet.
That's right.
But after Ian's hunt is when we stopped into the
A different restaurant.
mothball motel.
And yeah, that certain day that we ended up going to eat, there was somebody that ordered breakfast. There's hamburgers ordered. There's, I think, pasta ordered, I believe.
Chinese ordered.
And Chinese. And they brought my plate out dead last. Everybody had been eating, and I'm sitting there looking at all this food. I'm just starving, man.
Tell everybody what you ordered.
Well, I ordered some beef lo mein. I'm expecting some, teriyaki noodles and some teriyaki beef, and I'm gonna get filled up and be fine. This restaurant was owned by
Chinese,
Oriental folks.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So I'm thinking I
PC
might as well
over here.
I might as well order what they're known for cooking.
right?
So I go with the beef lo mein, and man, they bring it out. And if you can imagine a child's cooking set, and you take their spaghetti noodles, and then
bright green broccoli, bright green lettuce, and dark gray beef.
Gray. I'm talking about
Gray.
I wouldn't even say dark. It was light.
It was
gray.
like overcast gray.
It
They
almost
just put
looked,
all this stuff in a pot
yeah.
and boiled it.
it looked blue.
It looked
Yeah.
like possum meat's what it looked
And it
like.
smelled like sewage water.
She set it down, and I said, "Yeah." She set that down in front of me.
cat got killed.
She set it down in front of me, and I was like, I can't eat this. And
Boozer said, a double-sided menu, and you end up with this.
You had food choices from 3 continents,
yeah.
and you picked the possum
So-
lo mein.
Thankfully, Boozer gives me some of his burger. Gert gave me some fries, and Drake gave me some onion rings, and I went out with a full stomach. But I can't lie, Rich had cut half of his hamburger. He only ate half of it. He takes the bun and puts it on his plate, and takes these beef patties and sticks it in a napkin. I'm sitting over there, not gonna lie, I almost had to cut him off. I was like, man, I'd really, really like to eat that hamburger, Rich. Like, I don't know what you're doing with that. He gives it to the dogs.
I forgot about that.
He fed the dogs. I'm sitting over here starving.
He wrapped it in a napkin and patted it softly twice. And Trip goes, "Hey, Rich, what are you going to do with that burger patty?" He leans out and goes, "I'm going to give it to Josie."
I was like, okay, well.
Oh my gosh.
So that was that, And where did we end up going to scout that afternoon?
Back to there because
Yeah,
that
y'all went
pond was
back
full.
there.
We were
Yeah.
stuck on that pond.
Yeah, and we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't hardly shoot all the mallards that were on there.
I'm trying to remember what we got permission on, what we ended up hunting over there. The next day we ended up hunting my spot. That's right. So we scouted over there. We went and checked on them. You're right. We didn't. The hunt was so fast when we were packing up from that morning.
Oh, I see.
That there were
we
still-
skipped the hunt, but we went to lunch and skipped the hunt. Yeah, we
That's
hunted
right.
Ian's
That's
spot
right.
after we hunted the border.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So after the butted up fields, we ate, and then the next day we hunted Ian's because Ian found a traffic field.
That's
Yeah.
right.
'Cause we came up
A lot
dry.
of ducks there.
Ian found an absolutely huge feed, but couldn't get permission. An outfitter had it, and so he started connecting the dot between where the ducks were roosted and where they were at, and got permission underneath them. And so we thought it worked so well in the week. One day, let's try it again.
Yeah. And
We still shot them.
Yeah.
we
killed
shot
'em.
30.
the most incredible thing about that hunt, though, was before the hunt, we were praying.
Oh, gosh.
Praying that morning all together. And, Spence was just wrapping up the prayer, and he said something about thank you for these ducks and this opportunity, and Lord, please bless this hunt. When he said that, there was just mallards literally almost hit
4 of
Spence in
them.
the head and land in the decoys. And
10 feet from us.
yeah,
Play the audio of that.
yeah, when you hear that, it's incredible.
Place. Thank you for this farmer, and thank you for this hilltop and these friends, and we pray that you would bless our hunt this morning, help us to soak it up and enjoy the goodness and kindness that you show towards everyone. That right there. Thank you, Holy cow. Hey, we pray, amen. Already got chills. That don't give us chills.
You can just hear those wings just right on top of us.
I looked up. I had my head bowed, and I looked up, and they were literally 5 feet behind Boozer and Spence.
That audio, Girk is a solid 12 feet, 15 feet from the
Yeah.
ducks and from him, and that's how close they were.
Yeah.
You could hear that through the shotgun.
From Jackson's angle, it looked like they were about to land on Spence's head.
But that was incredible experience, and it was a fun hunt. Running traffic the way we were, we knew that we were going to miss some groups, but we were going to get some groups. We were just hoping for just 1 or 2 big volleys, and the ones we worked, man, they knew where they were going.
Also, we worked a big volley.
We did.
We shot 1 duck out of it.
Drake goes, What'd you say? I forgot what you said, but you said something along the lines of, "Oh God," or something. They're doing it, and it worked out.
Oh yeah, we were having to break them. I mean,
Yeah.
we were on them, and I was getting tired, boy, laying down, blowing them cut downs, and I was getting worn out, and next thing you know, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we probably saw more that day than just about any other day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we almost finished a big group of snow geese. Doing a little unconventional calling.
Those snow geese were 100% gonna lie.
Mom, Dad.
We're sitting there yelling at these geese with just our voices,
Saying mom and dad.
and they're gonna lie. They're gonna lie. And one juvie comes in close, and Drake's like, "Oh, forget about these geese." Bow! Everybody kind of lifted up. We're like, and Squints made some kind of statement to Drake.
And I picked up a new nickname, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we can't really say it on air.
Oh my God, it was hilarious.
I don't know if Drake chose to ignore it or he didn't see it, but out of all the snow geese that were up there was not one moving their wings. They were all just kind of floating down real slow. But Drake
It was only a matter of time before they smelled a rat and got us out.
Just like
You're
the
right.
ones,
You're
just like the
absolutely
ones
right.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. They
Yeah.
come into that 80-yard range, and then they start to figure it out.
Yep.
They get over them little horny cells, and they get out.
Horny or hungry?
Hungry.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just found the soundbite for this episode.
God almighty. Well, that was a fun hunt. And then that afternoon, we went back out, and me, Drake, and Girk went back to where we hunted the day before on that, in the wheat field, but up the pea stubble. Because there were so many ducks from that morning when we were picking up and just hanging out and enjoying the hunt. There were still so many ducks working that pea field. It was like, man, we haven't even blown our calls at half of these ducks are here.
Right.
But in the meantime of that, Farley, y'all found them.
We went into the lion's den and found them. We went down to the area where Wild Willie decided to run everybody out of town.
Because we hunted there last year.
Had some great hunts there last year.
And knew that there were plenty of ducks there, and knew that we could get permission.
Yeah.
We still had some of the landowners and farmers' phone numbers and had built relationships with them last year. So that was actually our favorite place last year with the most potential. So we knew that when y'all went that way, that y'all were going to, it was a matter of time before y'all found them.
So many. I mean, aside from the one that we ended up hunting, Rich and I got permission from a couple other farmers with some pretty solid feeds on them. But I had my sights set on the field that we had seen him in the 3 days prior, and where Wild Willie said that he already had permission on it.
And Sunday afternoon, or Monday afternoon, when we didn't have a good option for was it?
It was Tuesday afternoon.
Tuesday afternoon, we didn't have a good option for Wednesday before we went to Ian's. I sent the guy a text and invited him to hunt with us, and said, let's just team up.
Yeah. Because
the
we
guy
had thought,
who said he had everything locked
correct,
down.
because we had already thought that we had thought at that point he had permission on this
We were
field.
trying to build a relationship with him because he was only hunting by himself, too,
Right.
correct?
And we
him
steered,
and his daughter
and we
were
steered
there.
clear of the few landowners just because he was like, I got it all locked up and whatever. And when he said no, he wouldn't hunt with us. That's too. Basically what he said was that's a roost, which we're hunting in a pea field. We're not hunting a roost.
Right.
And there was one little pond on the next section north that was not a roost. It was a transition pond. They were coming off a big roost and landing there before they went out to feed.
Right.
And I texted him back and was like, that's not a roost. They're transitioning right there.
Yeah. And the 2 days before, the Monday and Tuesday when Rich and I went down there and scouted, they were in the section of a pea field that this guy lived or stayed on their property. It was right off of this house's back porch, and that's where they were. Well, this day we went down there, it was on the other end of the field on somebody else's property, and I texted Spence, and I was like, they're on so-and-so spot, on the far south end of this big pea field. And we tracked down the landowner and pulled into the driveway, and I looked at Rich. I'm like, I'm 99% sure that we're going to get told no because Wild Willie says that he already has permission. And we had seen every day we went down there was 5 trucks watching this feed. And so we're like, we know that either somebody's already asked or we're going to get told no because Wild Willie's got it or somebody else got it, whatever. Well, we pull in the driveway and we start talking to the farmer, and he sees us pulling his driveway, and he just has this look on his face. And I get out of the car and I just holler. I said, "How many times have you seen a truck pull in your driveway?" And he was like, "I lost count. I think you guys are the 10th one today." And we get there and we start talking to him. Well, we're sitting there about 5 or 10 minutes. Another truck pulls in the driveway. He turns them away. About 5 or 10 minutes later, another truck pulls in the driveway. He turns them away.
He just points, tells them to get out of here.
Yeah. They'd pull up and he'd roll the window down and he'd say, "I'm talking to these guys, like, on your way," kind of thing.
He knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
Come to find out, he was very aware of what his ducks were doing, what the geese were doing. Like, he was, some of these farmers up here, like when they get their crops out, they just kind of check out and they hang around the shop. And I mean, you can't blame them, right? I mean, they're farmers. They work around the clock. They're not duck hunters. Yeah. So they don't really pay attention. They know when they see stuff in the field, but they don't pay attention to
what kind of waterfowl it is or
whatever.
whatever.
Is it ducks?
Yeah.
Is it,
Right. But he knew. I mean, he had been paying attention.
He knew. And if there was ever a Mariano Rivera of asking permission, somebody to close the deal, Rich McGowan is the Sandman.
I guarantee you, how long did he talk to him about that 2019?
I was just about to say that. We pull up, I start talking to him. You're like, "No, 14. We're from Tennessee. We, we're here duck hunting. We're staying up the road, and we noticed that this field had a bunch of ducks." And he goes, "Yeah, a lot of people have been coming here and asking me. I think you guys are the 10th truck that's come by here." And there was a little lull in the conversation, and Rich goes, "What year is this John Deere combine back here?" 25 minutes later, they're talking about tractors and how this farmer's son is a salesman for John Deere, and Rich's son is a salesman for Helena.
His nephew.
His nephew is a salesman for Helena and was at Nutrien, and then 30 minutes goes by, and he goes, "You know what? You guys go out there and hunt that field in the morning." And I'm like, "Can I have that in writing, please, just to be sure?" And
you got it in writing, didn't you?
Yeah, we got it in writing, and it was. It was the closer. It was Mariano McGowan over there talking about John Deere tractors. I feel like was what did it.
Rich has got away with words.
I'm telling you.
I could sit there. I just need him around me forever just to be my hype man when I'm feeling down.
I told Tripp, I was like, he's the greatest hype man of all time. He was going to get a duck that we had shot, and it fell 100 yards over. And I said, I just want you to know everybody needs a hype man. I said, you watch when Rich walks back up here, he's going to tell everybody that I shot that duck.
Sure enough.
I didn't even point at it. Sure enough, he walks up.
He gets about 10 yards. He goes, here you go, Spence.
Here, boss.
Man, that was a great shot you put on that. Man, good shot, Spence. And sets the duck down right behind Spence.
I just looked at Tripp and I was like, yep, everybody needs a Rich in their life.
God, it was funny. But so we get there that next morning, and it was clear skies when we initially got there. Another good wind day, and
bizarre because now this is our 5th morning of 20-mile-an-hour southeast winds, like sustained. Normally, you don't get wind at daylight, and it was blowing wind like setting up in the dark every morning.
Yeah, and so we're setting up, and we're about, I don't know, we probably got 20 minutes left to set up and to start. I'm like, man,
I'm looking around.
Is that dust from this field and the wind that's picking up in there?
Because everybody was raking and cutting stuff out of hedgerow.
And it just kept getting thicker and thicker, and all of a sudden we're like, oh boy, that's fog, and I can't even see the other side of the decoys at this point.
Mist. It was misting, just like moisture in the air.
And we knew the ducks wanted to be exactly where we were at, but anytime it's foggy like that, I just kind of start, like I want to hunt sunshine and wind. That's what I love to do. And so I was a little nervous about it, but we set up and we just started, calling. I mean, we're not seeing anything. And it just seemed like every time we'd really start calling, a handful of ducks just lighting the decoys. And we were shooting those ducks and having a blast shooting those smaller groups.
And everybody was saying it, and everybody was in agreement. As soon as this fog breaks, it's going to get wild.
And sure enough, I mean, it starts lifting, and you can finally start seeing stuff. And It
happened so fast.
So
turned on, didn't it?
Fast. I mean, it was 8 o'clock by the time the fog broke. But from when the fog broke and the ducks started flying until we were done, couldn't have been more than probably 25 or 30 minutes, legitimately.
And it got bigger and bigger and bigger wads. I mean,
it was a group of 50 that would make a turn, and then a group of 100 would join up with them, and then a group of another 100 would join up with them. And next thing you know, there's 600 ducks above us.
If there was no limit on waterfowl in Canada, thank God there is, because we wouldn't have been able to eat as much as we did consume. We ate a lot of duck up here. If there was no limit and Spencer continued to hand me shells, I think we could have killed 300 mallards.
I believe so.
That day, with it being a overcast weather day, like after a whole bunch of clear sky days,
and that was the first day.
All day.
That was the high that day. Was 50, and the days prior it had been in the 70s, and so we knew that they were going to feed all day long. And Trip, you're right. If we could have sat there and shot until we ran out of shells, and they would have been right where we wanted them to be.
It was fun. It was pretty spectacular.
It was unbelievable.
And the best part about it, old Buffalo Bills drove by there and seen us out there, and he was not happy.
No, yeah, me and Boozer start going to walk to get trucks, and Spencer's like, "Whatever you do, don't say nothing to Big Bill."
No conversation.
And I was like, all right, that's going to be hard for me, but right. Because I just want to,
like a little chihuahua.
You know me.
We don't need to have any confrontation. Trip, you and Boozer go up there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like, let's be honest, it's not like I'm the greatest
confrontation.
Yeah, it's not like I'm the greatest peacemaker of all times, and I've already bailed Trip out of one, meltdown on Monday morning.
Trip was seeing red that Monday morning.
Finally, I walked up to the other guys after, once we agreed we were going to hunt together, and I said, hey, sorry for not being the nicest guy, but I mean,
yeah,
they were hilarious. Their response to that Monday morning was pretty classic. They were like, "Hey, it's okay. You got to be a bulldog. you got to stand for what you."
They told Spencer, he says, "Yeah, he wasn't leaving this field."
I told them, I said, "That's because he's more scared of me than he is of y'all."
That's what I asked Gert. I got back. I was like, Gert, it's like, if it would have went wrong, because the whole time I'm talking to these guys, Gert's just sitting in the truck. I said, Gert, if it would have went wrong, would you have helped me? He says, oh, no doubt, bud. I'd have been out there. I was like, okay.
But yeah, on Thursday, we strictly no confrontation with Big Bill. He didn't pick Ian and Levi. He didn't pick me and Rich to go get the trucks. He spent the two.
Oh, I didn't get to pick. They were walking up there on their own.
Me and Boozer had nice conversations about life and advice. I really did enjoy parking the truck every morning and going to get it, because me and Boozer had some good talks, and so I enjoyed that. But if anybody's gonna, snap at somebody. Yeah. Or feed into the conversation or say, oh, yeah, we shot our limit in an hour, big dog, on your feed. It's going to be us.
Yeah. And look, confrontation's not fun. We're not up here to pick fights, but that was pretty satisfying because we went about that one in the right way. We gave him a couple days. He did not actually have exclusive permission on that field.
No.
He'd not even talked to the landowner. He
Right.
was just being a bully, trying to keep people off of it. And so, you guys did right. You saw a feed. You went to the person's house. He happened to be there. You asked permission, got him to write it down. We got permission. It's not like we're shooting water. We're not messing everybody else up.
We were a half a mile from the roost.
Yeah. No. We were 2 miles from the roost. We were a half a mile from the transition pond.
Where they were just getting water out before they'd eat.
The roost was back behind us a half a mile.
2 sections.
The double pond? Oh. Onyx said it was a half a mile.
Onyx is a liar in Canada.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah, we have a new rule. If you're not using iHunter,
yeah,
get the heck out of here.
The only time Onyx needs to be up is when it's on the Apple CarPlay on the dash.
Yeah.
That's it.
That ain't no doubt.
Yeah, a quarter section is a half a mile.
Yeah.
So,
they were way more than half a mile.
Because a section's a square mile. So
yeah.
we were in the southeast corner of a quarter section. The pond was in the northeast corner of that.
Of 2 sections down.
Correct. So the transition pond was a half a mile.
Yeah.
And we were 2 sections over from the actual roost.
Yeah.
And then the other roost that they were coming from was more like 4 miles.
That we also had permission on as well.
And the wind was blowing away from all of those roosts. I guess the point is, it felt good to me because we We gave the guy some space. We tried to, play nice and hunt together and cooperate. And he was just being a bully. And the landowner knew that. I mean, the landowner said, it ain't his land. He don't have permission to everything, So,
Yeah.
and the landowner also, when we went by after the hunt, he said, the reason I let y'all hunt there is because those ducks really aren't roosted on that pond.
Yeah.
And he said, that's all he's been talking about all fall. And he said, I watch them every day. They roost, 2 miles over there, and they fly there in the morning, and they get a little water, and they eat.
Exactly what Rich and I saw the day before.
My jaw dropped, and I was like, wow, it's the first non-hunting farmer that actually understands what the ducks do.
Right.
So, anyways, it felt good to get them.
Yeah, it did.
There ain't no need to, like Boozer said, when you're in the right, there ain't no need to say a word.
Yep.
That was just fun, man. And we came home and said bye to Ian and Corey and Jackson, which sucked. That's the toughest thing for me is when everybody starts leaving.
Yeah.
And
it was a little sad.
Oh, romantic over there.
I do. I love Corey Ball and Ian's awesome, and Jackson was a good time.
Short boys got to stick together, man.
Hey, I will say this: it was nice how
They start leaving. He starts
stick
humming.
together. That's right.
Trip starts humming Sarah McLachlan.
it was great not being the only short guy here, because instead of me being made fun of, even on Instagram, everybody was making fun of Corey, and I was like, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah, because he'd stand right in the middle of the line. So, I guess what did we do after that? The next morning,
It was yesterday.
yeah, and we had a banger lined up for yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Gherkin.
We went back to
Drake
the same
and
area
Trip.
that we had initially, our crew had been in, because man, there's just so many ducks, but we couldn't get permission where we wanted to. It was locked up pretty bad by outfitters. But we drove another probably 4 miles away from where we really wanted to be, and found another really, really nice group of ducks, a good feed in another pea field. Ended up, it was Drake's friend who he'd made up here. It was his cousin's field, or maybe it was his brother's. Where we hunted yesterday, was that his brother's or cousin?
His brother.
It was his brother.
Yep, the one that he talks to.
Okay. So we actually went to his
The one
house.
that he talks to.
We went to his house, and Drake's buddy was working on a big heavy equipment, and Drake just walks out there in the middle of the yard, just starts waving and pulls him off the equipment, and he gets out there and they talk for a little bit, and we got to go ahead to hunt there, and it was set up nice. I mean, I went to bed with ease that night. I didn't think there was going to be any problem. Yeah, let's just go ahead and eat these potato chips into the mic.
Hot mic and everybody.
That was Frawley, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't even bite down. I heard the microphone. I was like, this is not good.
I'm trying to look over here which one to mute.
But it wasn't near as the biggest feed we were going to hunt the whole week, but it was enough ducks because we only had 7 guns.
Yeah, we only had
something
7
like that.
guns.
So it was going to be. I really thought it was going to be good, and it was a fun hunt. But we didn't have near the wind that we. I mean, there was a point, and I don't think the wind was even moving at all.
And when it did blow, it blew more out of the east than it did the south, which kind of put them funky over a little hill and just.
I think there was just so much hunting going on around that area that
Those ducks were sketched out.
So sketched out. I mean, the outfitters were hunting over there. We hunted over there. Then we hunted over there again. I mean,
well, there was 2 different outfitters right there too.
I had permission.
But the biggest thing too, because I'll be honest with you guys, we could have shot our ducks if we would have, taken shots that
Pulled the
we
trigger.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But we were really, really
Like
doing
if
a
we
good
were
job.
if we were to outfit and we had clients in hunters,
You'd have killed your ducks.
yeah,
100%.
Because they were bellying up, and I mean, it was early, I mean, they were trying to land. But once the sun kind of got up, I don't know if it was the shadow we were casting or just they could see everything, but I mean, they would get real low and they'd get inside 40 and they'd just kind of not finish. And when there's 200 ducks in the air and the first 8 kind of halfway get right, you just kind of feel guilty.
Yeah.
Not that guilty, but after what we had done for the previous 5 days,
yeah.
You were like, okay, we can do this. Like, let's try it.
Yeah.
Like, let's try to get him down here. No, it didn't work out
Yeah,
well.
I'm over here in the blind like, golly, what are we doing?
Drake was
freaking
freaking
over
out.
there on the right
Come
side.
apart, like,
and he
oh.
never gets keyed up like that.
Oh, Drake was freaking out, and Spencer's like, "Should I have called the shot?" And I was like, "I don't think so."
Boozer was losing it because he was like, "You're being a real jerk to Drake right now." He was like, "You're asking those ducks to do something they don't really want to do. It. You're asking him to do something he doesn't really want to do. Like, you're on an island here, man." But it was fun. I mean,
It was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
And we even tried to get it one more time. We left the spread out there and went out there that evening. And
more and worse of the same. But it was that was a fun and relaxing
But hey,
way to end it.
it
Yeah,
was. I will
Beautiful
say,
sunset.
picking up the decoy spread as a last day for the entire crew, basically.
Yeah, just the five of us.
Just the five of us. I think it was just a very Yep.
Yeah, it was that. You're right. That was a good way to end it. It was like, okay, we didn't actually kill them all.
Yeah.
And we're okay with it.
Yeah, me and Trip got in the truck, and I called my Trip, and I said, "I got bad news, bud." He goes, "What's that? We're not gonna have season at home." I said, "Pretty much."
This was an absolutely unbelievable trip. I mean, we had, I'll say,
Josie.
but we had 3 absolute slam dunk hunts that a lot of guys don't get to see not one time, and for us to do that, 3 or 4 days in a row, and it was incredible.
Well, I mean, when your off day is 30 ducks and a dozen geese, I mean, that's not exactly an off day. Let's
Yeah.
be honest, guys.
Yeah.
How many days
the
at
lowest
home would
number
you-
we had was 30 all week.
Thanks for telling everybody. And I wear a size 8.5. I mean,
But
it's not all about the numbers, right, Holty?
yeah, Holt, it is what it is, bud. But it is about the numbers, pal. Holt, that was I gotta mention that in. I'm sitting.
Every time Holt calls.
I'm sitting in there, hunting. Yesterday, he's called me, and I'm like, he's called me like 3 times. So I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I really want to go to North Dakota. I said, okay, just go. He goes, Mom's not letting me. It is what it is. He cracks me up. But it was just like we said. I really enjoyed yesterday afternoon without a lot of chaos. I wasn't even getting upset when the ducks weren't finishing. I was just really taking the time to take it in because it was my last time in Canada for at least another year. Lord willing, I get to come back up here next year. And last time getting to hunt ducks until November 18th, I guess.
Bless your heart.
I know.
3 weeks. You going home to get in line?
Is it really only 3 weeks away?
We got 4 weeks. 4 or 5 weeks.
It's
I'm
gotta be
sorry.
5.
We have, today's the 15th.
Today's 14th.
Okay, so we have a month and 4 days.
Dang. That's going to be quick.
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do before then, though, boys.
Yeah. We've definitely not tuned all
5 weeks from today.
all 500 Levy cuts. And I don't see that happening this afternoon.
No, yeah, I think they're actually going to take the ones that we brought because
I wasn't going to argue with you, and you boxed them up, and I was like,
my heart was in the right place. It really
no,
was.
I know. That's why I was like,
thought it was there.
There's
Yeah.
zero
Thought it was there,
chance
yeah.
I'm fussing at him because that is an admirable effort. But the tape on that box ain't even getting cut.
No, that's one of the things I was thinking. Like, I don't have a way to take this box back up. I bet if I try to crunch all these duck calls in this little bitty box and put on an airplane and fly it home, my bags probably get messed up. Might as well just, consistency.
Well, this trip last year was really, really fun. I am missing some of the guys that didn't get to make it up here
No doubt.
this year that were here last year. That did suck. But I will say this was a extremely well ran machine operation, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Between the guys who took time to cook, guys out scouting, guys working on, there'd be guys working on, just dark decoys and guys that were working on duck full bodies and guys making sure that Mojo, everybody kind of had their job doing blinds, cutting brush. Just made it easy, and everybody just kind of fell in line where they fit best at. And man, that helped us relax a lot more and not be tired, and stressed out.
Be efficient, eating good food, getting a good night's sleep, not having to stay in a hotel. Those things all kind of add up.
This trip I feel like was really special for me, just to get to watch Joe do her thing.
Gosh,
just
she
light
blew
years
the
difference.
doors off of it too.
Golly.
Yeah, and the presence of, the first hunt this week, or second hunt this week, was 17 guns, and Outfitter had 2 dogs, and her and D, together, so 4 dogs. And Team Black Dog held their own.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, yes, they did.
No doubt.
I think these hunt tests next year are really going to go through with a breeze if she keeps on this track, man. She's unbelievable what she's doing now.
Yeah,
not doing too good at staying on her place right now, though.
Yeah,
she wants to come hang out.
Well,
I think she's ready to get on the road.
She knows, old Joe knows that me and Fryler are about to get on the road here when we wrap this up.
That was a little
and
Joe lick of the microphone.
Start driving. And y'all aren't driving home today or flying home today. What are y'all doing?
We're going to go see Drake's buddy, Charlie Fox.
Yep. They ain't had enough yet.
Yep. Listen.
But somebody's got to drive the trailer back home.
I have had enough. I could white knuckle that steering wheel and go straight to the house without any chemical enhancements. I promise.
Spencer asked me earlier. He's like, "You got any extra shells in your blind bag?" I was like, "A few I can dig out." He goes, "All right, well, we're running a little low. We're gonna need whatever we can find." I was like, "Okay."
We shot. I don't know if you heard me say we shot 3.5 cases of 20 gauge, and a case and a half of 12 gauge. We shot.
Dang.
Jesus. So that's 5 cases in 6 days.
Jeez.
But we got to leave some up here for our buddy Thomas.
That's true.
So
that's right.
We're gonna swing through on the way to the airport and leave shells with him. That way, he's having trouble finding quality 20 gauge loads. And speaking of quality 20 gauge loads, I'm just gonna throw a little shout out to our sponsor, Kent Cartridge. We shot the 2.4s. Holy smokes!
Absolutely,
knocking
crushed them.
Telling you, obviously we try to kill all the ducks with feet down, but in case of having to reach them 20 gauges was doing it, dog.
There was more than one occasion where somebody would shoot at one getting out that was minimum 50 yards.
Yeah.
And
to clarify what you're saying, it's not that we're shooting tall ducks passing. It's that when a big group comes in and their feet down, first shot, they bust out.
Yeah.
So, after everybody shoots the 2 or 3 cupcakes in the middle, you start scratching for other ducks.
Yeah.
There was no lackage in the yellow shells.
No.
Actually, I think we only had who shot 12s? Kari and Mickey Watts. Yeah, everybody else shot 20. So yeah, it was a great week, great shooting, well-oiled machine. But we're gonna go see our buddy Charlie Fox, and Charlie. I guess y'all work together.
Yeah. Well, so basically, what's has happened is TJ got. I don't think he fully got rid of it, but they have some new owners, and Charlie got hired to run that whole operation and invited us to come hunt with a few other people, and we may get to see some ducks die with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah,
it will not be because
we better find a rock pile.
Yeah, it will not be because I pulled the bow and arrow back. But yeah, it should be a really, really good time. And then we're gonna fly home. So,
well, I hope y'all continue to mash on them. Just please save a few. Let a few get on back to Arkansas, boys. Y'all did a good job at shooting brown ducks. I appreciate it. I was shooting a lot of greenheads, typical me.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate y'all being kind and shooting plenty of pintails and other brown ducks.
Yeah, and if you ever come up here with a group of people and it's time to take the kill picture, don't be the guy who picks out the prettiest 8 greenheads.
Everybody gets your limit.
I killed all 8 of them.
One with a sprig. Trip's going to make sure that every portrait he's on the hallway, the Hall of Fame at the shop, he's holding all greenheads. Like, got mine.
7 greenheads, 1 bull sprig.
Sheesh.
Killed every one of them.
Sheesh.
I'm serious. When they start working, if you sit beside me, all you hear me doing is just, I'm going to get that greenhead. I'm just locked in.
Can confirm. Tripp and I hunted next to each other several hunts, and he was like, "Oh, look at that greenhead! Oh, there!" And he picks one and just watches it all the way in.
I'm not. My first shot a lot of times are not right here. These up close ducks. I'm typically looking where nobody else is looking because those are ducks that are gonna get out. So find me one up there. Yep. Shoot him and then work my way on.
Typical Panama City.
Yeah, out, not up is what you're supposed to do.
You know, what goes up must come down, right?
Hey, I made them come down. Don't worry.
A few times. Well, it was a great trip, and I appreciate everybody's work, and man, everybody just playing their role, and it was very satisfying to come to an area we've never been to.
Crushed it.
And crush them. Yeah, no doubt. So,
well, thanks for taking us up here. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Shoot, this is a we thing. We ain't spending my pocket money. This is y'all helped sell duck calls and T-shirts and hats as much as anybody did. So this is a team effort.
Well, y'all be safe. Hope y'all enjoyed this podcast. Me and Squinch, you ready to get on the road?
Let's point it south, baby.
We've got a really long drive from here.
Yeah. We got a long drive.
Y'all are going to make it down there before we fill the truck up with gas outside right here in town.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, well, thank y'all for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
See y'all.
See y'all.
Hey, y'all, this is Spence and Frawley, and just wanted to say thank you for listening to another episode of our podcast. We really, really enjoy producing this podcast and would be really grateful if wherever you get your podcasts, if you would subscribe to the Rolling Thunder podcast and give us a 5-star rating. Somehow, apparently, out there in internet la media land, that helps our podcast to be found by other people like you. So we just want you to know we appreciate you listening, and we'd like to ask you to subscribe and give us a 5-star review and keep on listening.
And unfortunately, recording podcasts don't pay the bills, so we just do this for fun and for y'all, and we want it to grow as bad as y'all want it to grow. So we could really use your help in doing that.
Share it with a friend.
Yes, right. We appreciate y'all stopping by again.
Thanks for listening.